Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Actually, I'm traveling, so I don't know how's the sound over there. This is Swadhina. I'm working as Chief Manager HR, heading the HR of a manufacturing unit in Navi Mumbai. I'm working with a public sector undertaking under Ministry of Mines. So, looking forward to hear from you, Tanvi.
Thank you so much for sharing, Swadina. Hi, Shloka. Hi, Mohana, Lakshita, Timson, and I think I missed someone. Hi, Harbava. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Hi, my name is Hara Prabha Patra.
Okay.
Yes. And also, I am also an alumni of TIFF. So,
Oh,
I'm from
great.
2019-21 batch and from
Um,
ODCL course, Organization Development, Change and Leadership.
okay. The Mumbai branch.
Yeah, the Mumbai branch.
Great. All right. Keetna, should we begin? Okay. All right. Okay, just give me a second. I'll share my screen and then we'll begin. Also, before we begin, whosoever is comfortable coming up on video, that would be really helpful. Because this webinar is not just going to be about me talking about emotional intelligence and things like that. So, if you're comfortable, if you are in a space like that, please do uh, turn up the videos. Hi, Timson. Thank you for sharing. All right, can you all see my screen? Oh, great. So, I think now we can begin. So today's session is about EQ advantage. We most of us would know that EQ here means emotional quotient and understanding about how emotional intelligence plays a role in leadership. To begin with, since we are talking about emotions, I have a question for all of you. Um, how are you feeling today, right now? And you can use this chart in front of you to try to name how you're feeling. It could be anything, even if you're feeling, angry, sad, bored, that's also fine. But whatever you're feeling, you can share with us in the chat box. Tired, because weekend's coming to an end, so that's understandable. Happy, tired, glad, okay, worried, okay, interested, good to know, confident, okay. Anyone who would like to unmute and share how they're feeling, if you are comfortable.
to hear from you.
I'm sorry, I did not get you.
I said I'm feeling good and really excited to hear from you on this topic.
Okay, that's great. All right. So now, for everyone who shared, thank you so much. And for everyone who did not share, that's okay. At least you would have an understanding for yourself that this is how I am feeling right now. Close enough. Even if it's not completely clear, that's fine. Moving ahead, is there anyone who has never felt any emotion in any particular situation? Even if you say that I felt numb, even that is a feeling, that is also an emotion. Is there anyone who has never felt an emotion at any point in their life? You can say yes, you can say no, whatever. Okay, so Shloka is not that person. Okay, Devanshi. Anyone who feels that that's impossible? No. All right. So can we collectively agree on this part that we all have emotions that we feel at every point in our life? The emotion can change, the feeling can change, but some or the other emotion exists. Great. So I think that will make it easier for you to understand why emotional intelligence is also important. So now what is this session about? So now this session is not just about understanding the emotions, what are emotions, why they are important, because I think here everyone, like we discussed, very brief discussion though, that emotions exist in every situation with every person and they're important. What we are going to try to understand here is that how emotional intelligence and leadership together play an important role in an organizational setting, in a team setting, in your workplace basically. So understanding what is the result of when these two things come together, why we need to bring these two things together, especially in today's time, and how do we do that. So we'll touch upon all these things. Of course, it's when we talk about emotional intelligence, it in itself is a vast area to discover, to learn about and explore. Leadership in itself is a vast area. Today we'll try to understand some aspects of it to give you some understanding. Okay. So now, if I ask you, and I would encourage that people, unmute themselves and share their understanding. What is the kind of leader that you would want to be or you would want to work with? What is your idea? Ki, my leader, if I'm working with someone, he or she is in a leadership position, that person should be like this. Or if I am in that position, I should be like that. What are some qualities, some strengths that you look in a good leader? Yes.
So, Tanvi Shloka here, I would like to share some of the qualities which I believe a leader must have.
Hmm.
One would be he or she being mindful is
Okay.
one of the quality. Second, I would like to have a vision of the leader to be um, empathetic,
Okay.
and I think third quality would be positive, having a positive,
Positive.
um, being inside as well as outside.
Having a positive outlook and optimistic
Yes,
nature.
yes.
Okay. Yes. Lakshita and Devanshi want to go. Yes, Lakshita.
So I think I'll just say one word. I don't know how ideally would
Hmm.
will it fit into that environment of a leader or a leader into an organization. I'll be specific. But I feel that they should be emotionally accommodating.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, emotionally, by emotionally, I'll be specific that there are days, when we feel certainly and we feel not so comfortable to share that to our managers, leaders, that, okay, what will they, take it
Right.
as? But I
Hmm.
want that comfort to come there.
Okay. So you
So
want
that,
that kind of a space with the leader wherein you can decide whether or not you want to share something and they are accommodative of your needs,
yeah, I
emotional
mean,
needs.
that
Hmm.
can be decided what to do about or the what is the
Yeah. Sure.
solution of the thing, but yeah,
Hmm.
that
Okay.
way.
Makes sense. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Devanshi, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I would like to work with a leader who have a clarity
Hmm.
and they should be like disciplined, and they should have like they should be visionary.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay, it's like they should not be on the like verge of things. Like everything should be planned in a way, like not
Hmm.
like everything is happening in the like spontaneously or in the verge of moment and
Hmm.
in a haste.
Right.
That sense.
Okay. So, according to you, they should have a plan of action, some vision, some structure to their work, which gives you more stability and clarity as well. Okay. Thank you. Jijin, please go ahead.
Yeah, the leader should be a good listener, a good team player,
Hmm.
and he should be optimistic,
Okay.
and he shouldn't he or she don't have the like a blame culture.
Right. Okay. Very important.
That's
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yes.
For
Ramya,
me,
please go ahead. Yes, Vadina, I'll come to you.
Hello.
Yes.
So I think one should be aware of themselves first, is what I think. Because if they are not aware of themselves emotionally and
Hmm.
mentally, what they are doing and what they are trying to be, then they
Hmm.
cannot serve us. That's
Right.
what I think.
Right. It's like, the change starts with you first. So you need to understand
Correct.
yourself. Great. Yes, Vadina.
for me, he or she should be someone who should be empathetic, and supportive. Even if your team members or whom you are mentoring goes wrong, then you should always
Right.
support that person, a good listener, and an unbiased person.
Hmm. Right. So when you say that, you need to be unbiased, you need to be open to others, it's also about, again, being a team person and not having that kind of favoritism or things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Okay, okay. So, all in all, first I would like to know from you all that how many of you have studied about, learned about emotional intelligence, or has some idea about, what emotional intelligence broadly or specifically means. You can use the chat box to share that if you have read about it earlier. Devanshi, you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Like we can call it a like coincidence, or I don't know what. But recently, I issued a book from my college library. It was Emotional Intelligence at Work by Dilip Singh,
Okay.
and and N.K. Chadha sir. So I like then I saw this about this webinar,
Webinar.
and
Okay.
like I was like this webinar complements my reading. Like I recently read that book on emotional intelligence at work.
Hmm.
it,
Okay,
it
that's
is also a
great.
really good book.
Hmm. Right. Yes, Jijin, please go ahead. Jijin, you want to say something?
no, nothing, nothing.
Okay, your hand was raised. All right. So all the things that you guys have mentioned about, what you would like to see in a leader, how, you would want to be a leader, the kind of person that you would admire to be or work with, is what we talk about in emotional intelligence. Very close. Emotional intelligence, for people who are new to it or haven't read much about it, it refers to the capacity to recognize and manage your own feelings, and also for the other person, do the same thing for the other person. But yes, that change, that recognition, that understanding has to begin from your own self first. Okay, so just like any other intelligence, what do we mean when we say that this person is intelligent? Either they know something, they have good knowledge, they have good understanding of a particular subject matter, right? They are able to apply that knowledge to any use, right? When it comes to emotional intelligence, it's the same thing, but with your emotional reactions, with your feelings, how you deal with situations, what are your emotional reactions in various situations. And when it comes to workplace, a lot of times people feel, especially the one where the leadership team or the management teams works more traditionally, they feel that if you're working, your emotions should not interfere in your work, right? If things are not going well in your life, that should not interfere in your work life, in your task that you're doing. But if you look at it from a human perspective, just leave whatever role you play in your company for a while over here and just think that is it humanly possible for anyone to just not let in their emotions or whatever is going on in their life or in their mind, not let interfere in what they are doing for so many hours of their day? Is it possible for your own self to do that, right? So one thing that we need to establish is that we can say that yes, emotions, need their own specific time to be addressed. But at the same time, we also need to understand from an organizational perspective that saying that this should not interfere in your work means that we're already labeling that your emotions are not valid, that your emotions are something which is negative, which is having a negative impact on you. As a result, what happens, because my manager, because my team lead, because someone in my leadership who I look up to has said that this should not interfere in my work, it's affecting my work, I am not working on the emotions, but I am now working on how to suppress that emotion. So when I'm suppressing that emotion, the issue is still there, that life problem is still there, right? It's just that I'm not addressing it. So if not right now, later on it will come again to me and it will reflect in my work later. If not now, maybe after a week, maybe after a month, maybe in a greater intensity. So as a leader, as a manager, as a team lead, whosoever is dealing with a person, with a team member, or with themselves, that they're let's say they're going through a difficult life situation in their personal lives, and when you tell that person that okay, don't let this affect your work, just think about it. Will I be able to do that if I was in their position? Probably not, right? That said, it does not also mean that you cannot manage yourself in difficult situations. But what happens is that the moment someone says to me, especially the one who is in the leadership position, who is, I am reporting to with respect to my work, as an employee, they might feel a little threatened. Okay, if I share how I'm feeling, probably my work or my job will get affected. So, probably the best thing for me to do is just shove it away and not talk about it. But it is not actually helping. You might get your results in the short term, but in the long term, it is going to impact the employee, it is going to impact their work, it is going to impact the whole team. And that is why it is very important to understand that emotional intelligence is being introduced into organizations, because it's not just about work or task oriented approach that organizations or corporates are taking these days. It's also about addressing the actual human issues that people have, because your work and your personal life cannot be completely segregated, and definitely not when a third person has said that to you to do it. Okay, that is one thing about emotional intelligence, and very amazingly you all mentioned the points that are there that makes a leader an emotionally intelligent leader. Be it about yourself, someone also mentioned that they need to start with the change, they need to understand themselves first. That's very much important. So this is a model, and I think someone also mentioned the Daniel Goleman's model. I really, resonate with this particular model of emotional intelligence. It is so simple to understand, and it just here I would say this is something that is just putting structure to your own existing thoughts. Okay, so beginning with self-awareness. Yeah. So self-awareness here is like emotionally aware about your own emotions. Now you cannot expect as a leader. Now, Abhi, here you study, you read about, okay, you need to be aware about your own emotions, you need to address your emotions. But as a leader, you cannot just instruct that to your team. And on a personal level, you are not yourself not able to do that, because a lot of behavioral change doesn't happen by just giving instructions, by just telling them theoretically what needs to be done. A lot of behavioral change happens through modeling. So if I am doing something as a leader, I am working on myself, my team will pick that up automatically, eventually, but automatically, because they're seeing me do that. Okay, they're seeing the change that is coming in me. So that will motivate them to do something with themselves also. So as a leader, as an emotionally intelligent leader, you need to begin with yourself. Your own emotional awareness is important. Your own accurate self assessment is also important. What makes you different from any manager is that a leader is also going to assess themselves, not just the other person. And that is very much important. A manager's role is to assess their team, but a leader's role begins with assessing their own work first. And then moving forward. What did I do well? What I did not well? How could I reacted better? How could I responded better to a particular person or situation or whatever? And then move on to the next person. And the third thing is your own self-confidence. How much confident do you feel in your own role? How much confident do you feel when you are interacting with your team? Because uh, that energy gets translated to the other person very quickly. Okay, so and you cannot be self-confident until and unless you have that level of awareness of yourself. Nobody has the highest level of awareness, of course, but to a level of awareness to an extent where you can assess yourself, bring about the change that you need, and then again assess yourself if that is what you needed, that is what the situation needed. That is the kind of awareness I'm talking about. Okay, moving on to the social awareness. Some people mentioned empathy. Can someone just quickly, just one person, and then we'll move ahead. Can someone share if you know the difference between being empathetic and showing sympathy to someone? Yes, Rijal, please.
Yeah, empathy means we are placing ourselves in their shoes as well. Like sympathy means okay, or something what okay, or something happened to him. It is very bad, like that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Right. So empathy, sympathy, like you mentioned, when you feel bad for the other person. Oh, I'm so sorry this happened. Empathy is that understanding their situation from their perspective. So now, as a leader, there might be a situation where, let's say somebody is sick at your team member's home. Okay. And now you feel that, okay, there's somebody who is sick. There might be people who can take care of them. Why do you need extra time off or whatever? I'm just giving you an example. Empathy here would mean that, okay, somebody is sick at your home, you need extra time because there might be a situation that their level of resources, their availability of resources or people or whatever time would be different from that of yours. Empathy here means that someone, if I was in the same situation, my reaction would have been different. This person's reaction is totally different, and that's valid. When you say, a lot of people say this, that so what, this has happened, I have also been through this, things will get better. But what we don't realize is that not everyone has the same kind of help. They don't have the same kind of financial or social support, right? Empathizing is just understanding that yes, there can be different outcomes, there can be different emotional reactions to different situations, and even to the same situation with different people. One very important part of empathy and why I'm focusing on this a lot is because leadership begins and ends with empathy. Uh, you may or may not be able to do the best that you want to do as a team, but if your team members feel like Lakshita also mentioned, if they feel comfortable enough with you, even in the hardest time, they would want to be with you because they know it's not just about work. At least I am being respected, I am being understood over here, and that is why empathy is the most important skill. And by empathy, it can also mean I don't understand how you feel, but I can help you. I would want to help you, because in a lot of situations you may actually not be able to understand how the other person is feeling or what they are going through, right? So that is very important. Organizational awareness, of course. When you're working in an organization, in a company or in a team, what role do you play in each and every person's lives over there? How do you contribute to their well-being? How do you contribute to their growth, to their challenges, their problems? That is also important. And the last one is service. What is it that you are providing from your end? Of course, a team leader or manager would expect very, rationally that yes, the team does what it's supposed to do. But what is it that you are serving back to them? That's also very important. Coming to the management part. Now, this part was awareness on personal level, on social level. Coming to the management part, your own emotional self control. Now, by emotional self control, I don't mean you don't express yourself, but like we must have heard about this in general conversations with a family, that there is a time and place and a way of saying what you want to say, right? Your emotional self control means exactly that. Feeling angry is not bad, feeling sad is not bad, feeling hurt is not bad, feeling disappointed is not bad, but how is it that you're expressing that? Or is it that you're letting yourself express that? Am I suppressing my anger? Am I suppressing my disappointment? Am I suppressing any other emotion for that matter? So how is it that you're managing your own emotions and then letting them out in some platform in some way or the other? The other is transparency to your own self. I might be feeling sad or I might be feeling disappointed because of something that happened at work, but I am masking it with another feeling. Ki, nahi, nahi, it's fine, nothing happened. I'm okay with it. I'm used to it. The most commonly used phrase is, "This is how things are. I'm used to it." So now I am not being honest or transparent with my own self that how this particular situation is or person is affecting me. So until and unless you're transparent with yourself, you cannot understand your own feeling. You won't accept it. How will you change it, or how will you even learn to manage it? Right. So that transparency is important. What is it that you have achieved? Again, it's very important that okay, if I am able to bring about some change in my life, if how I'm able to manage myself, you also need to acknowledge that. You cannot move from point 0 to point 10 probably, but moving from point 0 to point 1 or 2 is also achievement, is also progress, and that also needs to be acknowledged. What is the initiative that you're taking for your own self? Now let's say 5 people have said that you have anger issues, you lose your cool very quickly, right? Probably that's true. That's what 5 different people have observed in you. What is it that you are doing for yourself? If you also agree with them to work on yourself, that's important. And optimism about bringing about needed change in yourself, about optimism also about that it's okay if I'm feeling something. It's not just always about that I need to change something about myself. It can also be that it's okay if I'm feeling something. It's okay I'm feeling so and so emotions. And then it comes to relationship management. Everything that you mentioned, what is the kind of influence that I have on my colleagues, on my team members? It's very important. Is it a positive influence? Is it a negative influence? Where am I consciously or unconsciously taking my team? That's important. Inspirational leadership. Now, leadership, when it becomes inspirational, when people want to work, they want to achieve the same goals, they have the same vision and mission, even in your absence. You don't need to be there all the time so that they do what they're supposed to do. That's when it becomes inspirational, and that happens when you are able to do the first three things. It becomes intrinsically like they're motivated to do that. Developing others as a leader, you're not just working on your own development or the organization's development, you're working on the team's development as well. So that's how you know that I am taking everyone together as much as I can. And that's very important because uh, when the team grows, when the leader grows, when the team grows, of course the outcome, the task, the quality of work will also increase, right? But we cannot expect that okay, I want best work, but my team members don't feel motivated or don't feel respected or don't feel that they're growing enough, right? So whatever is in my capacity, am I doing that best? Build, sorry, I can't. Yeah. Change catalyst, very much important to be flexible. There are systems in place, there are processes in place, there's protocols, but there will come times where those systems, those processes, those protocols will go, like they won't be serving the same purpose at all. Then you would want to work in a different system. There might be need of some kind of change, and as a leader you need to be the catalyst. You need to understand that okay, and it could be in any format. It could be just about how the people, the team members are being treated. It could be about that as well. Right now, since we're talking about emotional intelligence, the change catalyst here could be okay, how my team members feel when they are interacting with each other? How my team members feel when they're talking to me? And is there a change that's needed? And how can I, and if that's a genuine need, how can I, speeden up that process for them to make it as better as possible? Okay, that's important. Building good bonds, like I said, once a person feels comfortable, they feel secure, they feel respected, they feel heard, those bonds will form automatically. And when you look at it, everything boils down to how do I feel in this place? How do I feel when I'm working with this team? A lot of people don't want to work with a particular team or a company or a boss or anyone because they don't feel a certain way. Very less it happens that it is because of work or something. A lot of times it's about that, okay, I don't feel respected, I don't feel heard, or I don't think what I do is being acknowledged, right? So no matter how much you say keep your emotions aside, at the end your decisions will be dependent on some emotion that you feel in your workplace. Okay, very important one, conflict management. How do you manage conflicts when there are arguments, disagreements within the team members? More importantly, when there are disagreements between you and your team member. Okay, that is very important, and that's where your own emotional regulation also comes into play. Because when there's disagreement, of course there will be some sort of defensiveness that will come up in the picture as well. Oh, how could she not agree to what I'm saying, or how do they have a different point of view, or anything. And that's where you regulate your own rules. Okay, maybe I need to check for how am I minding right now, I'm feeling angry. Maybe I need to take some time to process what I'm thinking, and then I'll come back to the solution later on. And then of course there are other conflict management areas. And the last one is teamwork and collaboration. I think when if you're able to achieve at least to some extent the above things, your team and collaboration will happen automatically. You won't have to do any extra efforts. And if you look at it from the outside, it's just about understanding and managing yourself, and then trying to do that for the other person as well, with them, not for them but with them. That is what broadly emotional intelligence is. Okay, if you guys have any questions around these things, because I've very quickly gone through all these points, you can write them down and we'll come to the questions towards the end of the session. Yes. So moving ahead, I will be sharing a link with you. Which one do you think is more important according to you? And I'm sharing this link. You can put in your answers over here. And I'll share the responses as well. Let's take 2 minutes to. Okay, this is what we have got. 57% say EQ is more important, and 43% say they both are equally important. Anyone else who is still putting in their vote? Okay. So I think some people are on the chat, they're saying both EQ, emotional intelligence. All right. I'll come back to the presentation now. Thank you so much for your inputs. Emotional quotient is actually underrated. We think that, yes, of course, IQ is very important, but especially in the leadership role, if I'm talking about here, emotional intelligence by studies is much more important. IQ can, of course, give you a level of, cognitive intelligence. It can give you certain certainty about information about how much knowledge a person has and how much they are able to comprehend and apply. But in a leadership role, or for that matter in any role which involves your coordination with a team with other people involved in it, emotional intelligence is one of the most important factors. Like I've mentioned, uh, a couple of studies over here, Google research has said that EQ matters more than IQ or technical competence. So technical competence can take you to a certain level, you can reach a certain technical expertise. But when you're there at a position where not, you are not just working on the technical aspect, you're working with people, that technical information is not going to serve or not, is not going to give you results that you want. It's your ability to manage teams, it is your ability to understand people, human beings from a human perspective, is what is going to make that team collectively work together for a bigger goal. Okay, so your IQ definitely is important, but emotional intelligence is way more important when it comes to leadership roles. uh, Research out of Columbia also suggests that working on emotional intelligence is higher ROI. So right, so here ROI basically over here means that if you invest in building your team's emotional quotient, your team's emotional intelligence, it will give you better returns in terms of the work that they are doing, in terms of the kind of work culture that is built, and also in terms of how long they stay with you as well. Because of course, if they are seeing good professional growth, if they are feeling good when they are working with their colleagues, with their team leaders and all, the chances of them wanting to continue with the company, wanting to achieve the same vision, achieve the same goal that the company has, it will be more. And a Yale study also proved that EQ makes drastically better decisions. In a leadership role, you probably are not just doing the technical work all the time. And most likely, you are not doing the technical work, right? You are there to work with your team who is working on the technical aspect. So you are there to make the most important decisions. And your decisions, if you are in that role where you are making the most important decisions for your team, for your organization, your emotions can't be kept aside. And if I have to tell you, if you feel that, okay, yes, I am someone who is very much well versed with my emotions and so and so, try to observe yourself, and we'll come to that as well. How do you respond in a critical situation? How do you respond when, there is, I mean, we all have biases as well, right? So, with a particular person, do you think that there's unconsciously happens this that there is some bias towards some particular person or in a some certain situation, something that you also unconsciously want to avoid? So that is why up until here we have established that emotional intelligence in a leadership role, in a managerial role, is definitely more important than IQ. Okay. Till now we have covered what emotional intelligence and what leadership exactly we're talking about, why it is important. Now we'll quickly move ahead to how you can work, or at least start working on your emotional intelligence. Like I said, emotional intelligence in itself is a vast topic. You cannot develop that as quickly as possible. It will take its own time, but we'll start with the first few steps, how to begin with it. Okay, so now how do I improve my own emotional intelligence? Like I said, the change has to start with yourself first. Also, why it needs to start with your own self? Because then you would know how difficult it is. So when you expect someone else to bring about that change, you would also know how difficult it would be for them. So then your ability to empathize with that person will get better, because now you know the experience from the other side as well. Right? So the first thing is observe your own emotions, thoughts, and behavior. It does not have to come only at point where you're not feeling well, or where you're feeling angry or anything like that. It could be in any situation, even if you're feeling good, even if you're feeling energetic and interested in anything. Observe yourself. How do you behave? What exactly do you feel? How do you think in that situation? Be it any emotion, just try to understand yourself in different situations. What brings about the excitement in you, and what brings about the anger or disappointment in you? Is it a situation? Is it a person? Is it whatever? Okay. Second is reflect and notice any patterns. Are there any specific kind of situations that make me feel the same way? Is there any specific person around whom I'm not that comfortable? right? Or is there any particular situation or a particular thing that someone says that makes me angry? I just don't want someone to pinpoint this one particular thing that makes me angry. Just it does that. It could be anything for anyone. I'm just giving a random example here. Third one is the most important one. Accept your limitation and your own mistakes. As a leader, not just because you want your team to understand their mistakes and accept it, but also as a leader, you need to understand that there can be times where you are wrong. There can be times where your decisions were not the best ones, where the way you treated your employees for whatever reason was not the best way, or for that matter, the way you treated yourself was not the best one. Right? It takes a lot of strength to accept your own mistakes first. And when you do that, uh, of course, it gives you that kind of clarity as well, that okay, now I know where the problem lies. It also gives, like, again, it models that behavior in your team as well. Now next time if your team members does something wrong, they would not feel bad or they would not feel threatened for accepting their mistake, because they have seen you do that. So they know that this is a space where if I have done something wrong, I can openly accept it without feeling bad about it or threatened because of it. That is how you model that behavior as well. Fourth one, allow yourself to feel your emotions and validate. Like I mentioned in the beginning, if you don't accept that I can be grieving a loss and I can be, sad about it, then no matter how much you try to suppress it and try to work on your tasks and whatever, at some point that grief will come back and hit you, and probably in a worse manner. So why take it to that level? I mean, when we get sick, we don't wait for the fever to get, you know, in that to reach that worst level so that I'll take my off and then I, take rest or take medication or see a doctor or anything. Why is it that with our emotions we get so rigid, we get so, I would say unempathetic, even if I don't even know if that's a word, but towards ourselves. We want that our leaders should be empathetic, they should understand our problems, they should understand our emotions and accept them. Are we doing that for ourselves in the first place? Probably not. Probably not in the most situations. So learn to accept and allow yourself to feel and validate that it's okay if I'm feeling sad. Probably I just need some time to process this and then I'll come back to my work. And probably you will be more productive after that. Most likely, in fact. Yes, allow yourself and validate your feelings. Alternate response to a situation whenever needed. Now there can be, now by validating, I don't mean that, acha, it's fine. It's okay if I got angry. I should have. By validating, I mean it's okay. I got angry, but probably that was not the best reaction. I need to do something about it. What could have been a better response in that situation? Then I'm thinking about change. And the last one is repeat. One time changing your behavior, one time allowing yourself to feel something, one time validating yourself, not bring about a sustainable change. You need to keep doing this process as and when it is possible, if not all the time, as and when it is possible, so that it becomes your own, practice. It becomes like a normal thing for you. That okay, if I'm feeling low, if I'm feeling tired, if I'm mentally tired or whatever, I just need some time for myself. It'll get normalized, but you need to repeat. So these are some basic things that you need to start with, okay? For just understanding yourself. Once you have this kind of understanding, to some extent for yourself, you'll be able to replicate that in other situations as well. So now, how many people agree to this? 10% of conflict is due to the difference in opinion, and 90% is due to delivery and tone of your voice. Do you think this is something that you agree with?
Yeah, totally agree.
Right. So your tone of voice is so important. Your choice of words is so important. The time, the place that you are saying something is so important. You might be saying the best thing. You might be giving the best advice. You might be giving the best feedback to your team member. But if it is not coming in the right tone of voice, you're not using the right words, it will not land properly. And for the obvious reasons. And what changes your tone of voice is how you're feeling. If I'm giving a feedback to my team member about something that I was angry about, and I give that feedback in the same tone of anger, that person will not take it as a feedback. They will take it as, okay, I'm being blamed for something. So if you want to give a constructive feedback, first of all, you need to accept that you want to give a constructive feedback. And for that, you need to first manage that how am I feeling about this situation right now, about that person right now. And once you're able to process that for yourself, ki, haan, I need to say, convey this in a positive manner, you will feel calm and then you will convey that in a calm manner. And probably chances are that then in that situation that will land in a more positive sense. So your tone of voice is very important, and tone of voice is just the behavior. It depends on how you're feeling. What your tone of voice is being driven by your emotion. So if you manage your emotion, understand it, the tone of voice will automatically change. Okay. Now this is a small video which I will play towards the end of the session. First, I'll take some questions if you have. These are basically 6 qualities. This is a video that I really like. When you become an emotional intelligent leader, to a great extent, this is what an emotional intelligent person, a leader, could look like. Some of the qualities, I would say, not an exclusive list, of course. And this is one of my favorite quotes, which says that leadership is about managing energy first in yourself and then in others. And by energy, it could mean anything. Whatever you feel energy means to you, it could be emotions, it could be your thoughts, it could be your own behaviors, it could be just your own aura as well. Since we're talking about emotions here, taking from that perspective, this is like the gist of what we have discussed today. Okay, so um, yeah, it's okay to feel your feelings. This is just a reminder for you. Any thoughts or any questions? Even if you don't have any questions, any thoughts that you have on what we've discussed, that's also we can discuss. Yes.
Tanvi, I just have a question. Like when we discussed within a team, I need to give constructive feedback to any of my team members, or say, as a boss, I need to give a constructive feedback to my juniors. What if the person to whom I am giving a feedback is having some preconceived notions and is not ready to accept it? You know, then how do you handle such a situation?
Okay. So, see, when someone has a preconceived notion about something, that is probably because they have had a certain experience over a period of time, right? So, first of all, because this is not a very specific situation, try to understand that why is it that they have that particular perceived preconceived notion? What is it about? Is it about you, or is it about the situation, or is it that they are just in general not that person who takes feedback positively, even if you give that in a constructive manner? Try to understand from their perspective that what is the kind of person, or like their own preference is like. Now here it doesn't mean that as a leader, if you do everything right, everything will fall right or will be taken very positively all the time. So as a leader, you also need to understand that even if I'm doing everything right and it is not landing well, maybe I need to understand this person first. What is going wrong? What is this preconceived notion that we're talking about, and how did it come to this point that they are so unreceptive of what I'm saying, even if I'm saying in the best way possible? Try to understand the why of the situation whenever you don't know what to do. When you understand the why, you will probably get some insight about the situation or the person, and then you can take your steps forward accordingly. Does that answer your question, Sudhina?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or any other questions?
Um, so I had a question actually. So when we
Yes, please.
talk about emotional intelligence, then and like how it could be very helpful for a leader to have. How are we supposed to promote people in organizations, like employees and leaders, to kind of cultivate emotional intelligence?
Sorry, could you please repeat the second half of your question?
Yeah, so I was saying, how would you say that people in organizations can promote a way for people in the organization to cultivate emotional intelligence? How do you get people to be more emotionally intelligent, basically?
Right. So, see, in an organizational setting, I think the most important thing is to have more conversations about it. A lot of people in organizations, they feel that it is just me who is facing these problems and everyone is just doing fine. They're just doing so well in their jobs. But when you speak to every person individually, they have their own problems going on, which they feel is just my problem. So first of all, having that kind of open space where they at least know that it is not just me. There are people out there in the same organization having, other emotional issues or similar emotional issues or whatever problems, and I am not an odd one out. Okay, that is the first barrier that needs to break. That I am not an odd person who is facing these issues and everyone else is doing so well. Okay, second is that I think this change, if you genuinely want to bring about a sustainable change, it will begin from top to bottom level. Even if you make on an executive level, if the team is made emotionally intelligent, but the leadership team is not on that level, it will not work. Because even if they want to be that expressive, or even if they want to understand each other emotions, or they want to make that space for each other, and the leadership, especially in the organizations where this hierarchy is followed, if the leadership team is not on the same page, then that would not be a sustainable change. So I think for this kind of change to happen, the change starts from the top. You need to start educating the top level, and then that will get replicated. Like I said, it will get modeled automatically, but it will not get modeled upwards. That's not going to happen. But it's easier to model when we go down the hierarchy, because for them it is like, okay, my team lead is that's this kind of a person, so I want to be this. Just imagine your own family, right? There are grandparents, there are parents, and there's you, and then probably other kids. Now, as a younger generation, you would want to bring about some change, but if you're living in a joint family, until and unless the grandparents, if they hold that kind of stature in your family, until and unless they approve of something, that change cannot happen on the ground level for a very long time, right? So you need to begin, you need to go to them, you need to ask for their permission, then they say yes, they say no, they say whatever, and that's how things go. Similarly, in an organizational setting as well, that you need to go from top to bottom to have these conversations first, to have such trainings where you are getting that space to understand. A lot of people don't even know about emotional intelligence. Most people say, I don't even feel anything, I'm an emotionless person, right? So you need to understand where your organization, where your employees stand, what is their level of awareness, and then take steps accordingly, I would say. Yeah. Hi, Jijan. I would not be able to share the presentation with you, but if you have any specific questions, I will be happy to answer them here.
No, no, nothing. Thank you. If you're able to share the presentation, then it would be a good help
Okay,
for
sure.
us.
Sure. Okay, do we have any more questions, or we can move on to the video? Okay. Let me know if you can hear it. There's no sound right now.
You have to have 6 traits one leader should have. And what are the 6 traits? Number 1, leader must have a vision. Without a vision, he will not be a leader, he or she. So leader must have a vision. The second one, leader must be able to travel into an unexplored path. Normally tendency to travel the well laid out path, but the leader, he takes the path of untraveled path. Third thing, leader must know how to manage success, most importantly the failure. Any mission he does or she does, say yes to go through some failure. They should know how to manage the failures. I became the project director for satellite launch vehicle program. SLV-3 is called to put a Rohini satellite in the orbit by 1980. So when the time came, 1979, I think it's in August, we handed over to the computer to do the process of checking the launch vehicle T-minus 4 minutes and launch it. After 1 minute, in the computer, checkered computer put a hold. For some reasons, they said a display was there. It said some component is not doing well, control component. So I bypassed the computer. I went on manual, launched the rockets. Okay, it got into trouble. Instead of satellite going the orbit, the whole rocket system went into Bay of Bengal. Okay, so it was a big failure. The chairman of the organization, the leader of the organization, taking the press conference, I was by his side. He said, we have failed. First time we tried, attempted it, and this failure really makes us believe we have to give you more technology support we give, and we work very hard. Definitely in India you are never succeed. So I was mission director, I was responsible for the failure, and he took the responsibility of failure as the chairman of the organization, the leader of the organization. Next year of 1980, July, we succeeded. The whole nation was jubilant. There was a press conference. Professor Satish Dhawan told me, you go and take the press conference. Okay. The message is, when the failure occurred, the leader of the organization owned the failure. When the success came, he gave to his team. That the best management principle I have not learned previously. Any books have not taught me. I learned from that experience. Next one, fourth point, leader must have courage to take decision. That's our problem today throughout the world. Leader must have a courage to take decision. Fifth one, leaders should have a nobility in management. I mean, nobility and management a big question mark. So I believe leaders should have a nobility in management. Every action of the leader should be transparent. The leader should work with integrity and succeed with integrity. Leader should work with integrity and succeed with the integrity. I climbed and climbed. Where is the peak, my Lord? I climbed and climbed. Where is the peak, my Lord? I plowed and plowed. Where is the knowledge treasure, my Lord? I plowed and plowed. Where is the knowledge treasure, my Lord? I sailed and sailed. Where is the island of peace, my Lord? I sailed and sailed. Where is the island of peace, my Lord? Almighty, bless my nation with vision and sweat, resulting into happiness. Resulting into happiness.
Yes. So with that, I come to an end for this today's session. For the last video, all the qualities that were mentioned in that video, if you look at it from yeah, if you look at it from an emotional intelligence perspective, being able to handle failures, having that kind of courage, taking the responsibility of failures on yourself and giving this credit to your uh, team members, all of this takes a lot of emotional maturity and understanding of your own self. And when you look at it, I would suggest you go, I can share the link as well. Look at it from an emotional intelligence perspective as well. What are the emotions that are involved when you're supposed to take important decisions, when you're supposed to act in the times of failures? How do you respond to failure? You in your own life respond to failures, be it personal or professional. Yes. So I think that will give you a lot more clarity from a practical perspective as well, and what is it that you can look forward to as an emotionally intelligent leader. And I hope the session helped. So thank you so much. And yes, I'll share the link right away.
Tanvi, Shloka here. I have a doubt before we close this session.
Sure, sure.
Actually, this doubt came up once the video got ended. So I would like to share. So I'm HR at HDFC Mutual Funds Company, and recently I came across a situation where I made a mistake, and so the emotion which I was feeling at that point of the time was a calmness. I was not feeling frustrated. I was not feeling angry. I was not feeling um, sad or worried. I was just feeling that accepted. I was feeling surrendered, and I was feeling very calm that I have made a mistake. So my question is there any right emotion? Is there, I mean, feeling calm and feeling accepted or surrendered when you know that when you realize that you have made a huge mistake, is that a right emotion to, process for oneself?
When you say calm and when you say surrendered, these can mean two different things. So, like when you say calm, do you mean that you were okay that you made a mistake and then you moved ahead with what needed to
Yes,
be
I
done?
was okay that I made a mistake and then I wanted to just move ahead and not dwell onto it.
Okay. I think if you are able to process, if you're not, when you say which emotion is right, it could be different for different people. To evaluate that, one way could be that, okay, how did that emotion affect my further steps of action? If you were able to accept your mistake, you did not blame yourself to an extent that you not take any further steps, you went into guilt that did not happen. So that's a good thing that happened, that you become calm to accept your mistake and move ahead. So I think that's why I asked for your next steps. Like in that situation, I think that went well for you, and that was a good response.
Okay. Thanks, Tanvi. And it was a very wonderful session to have. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you found it helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that, I think we can close for today. Again, Miss Sunny, thank you so much for your session. It was very insightful, and I think everybody got a lot out of the session. Again, thank you for sharing the link. If anybody wants to revisit the session or contact Miss Tanvi, I'm sure they can do so. We're also going to upload the video on YouTube, so you can always go there. And her contact information was on the slide, so you can get in touch with her there. Again, thank you all the participants for joining. It was a great session. Again, yeah. Thank you. I think
Thank
we
you so
can.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Tanvi.